Okay, today I will complete Chapter 10 and read Chapter 11, Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. This is strange, Connor said. I wonder why there's a shed with all the do not enter signs on it. I don't know. I found this old storage shed behind the buildings. It has 7 do not enter signs on it and an old broken handle that was padlocked. I couldn't get the door to open, but you might be able to. You want to try? Connor nodded excitedly. Yeah, let's go. I led him down the short trail until we reached the old wooden shed. It looked like it was on the verge of collapse, much like several of the buildings at the park. See all the signs? I said. Cool, I wonder what's in there. After a few tugs and grunts, Connor was able to slide the door open enough that we could squeeze through the opening. I scraped my nose a bit on the old wooden door, and I hoped I didn't get any splinters in my face. Getting them out would not be fun. Connor and I looked around at the stacks of boxes, the piles of junk, the shelves stuffed with old books and papers and props. Where do we even begin? I said. I looked up and saw a box perched on top of one of the old bookshelves. The writing on it was faded and water-stained, and I could barely make out 3 letters. A, V, a water-stained space, and then an N. Check out that box up there, I told Connor. We looked up and read the letters, A-V-N. We stood a moment in silence before Connor barked, startling me. Avon, he cried. I snorted. Of course not Avon, I thought for a moment. Kavanaugh. Oh, right. Connor smacked himself in the head. Stupid. He stared at it a while. How do we get it down? I looked around the room for a ladder or something. I could try headbutting it off the shelf, I said. Connor laughed. If we can find something for me to stand on, I think I can get it down. We found a little table covered in old documents in one corner of the room. Connor moved the papers off it and dragged the table to the bookshelf. He climbed up and brought the box down, then placed it on the table and opened it. This stuff is old, he said, pulling out a book that looked like it had been soaked in water and left to dry out in the heat repeatedly. Though it was badly damaged, we could make out the big hairy tarantula on the cover. More tarantula stuff, I mumbled, studying the cover. What's the deal with tarantula stuff? Connor asked. Someone here was really into them. There are tarantula pictures in the soda shop and a tarantula display in the museum. Connor pulled out another book, a sketchbook. The pages made brittle crinkling sounds as Connor turned them. Careful, I told him as a corner of one page broke off. We studied the sketches. There were several drawings of horses and Stagecoach Pass, and of course, tarantulas. There was also a detailed sketch of a necklace with a blue stone on it. Connor pointed at the date on one of the pictures, 1973. Someone made these over 40 years ago, he said. We looked through the rest of the box and found some horse figurines, an old hairbrush, and a glass case that reminded me of an aquarium. Why would there be an aquarium, of all things, in here? I said. He shook his head. Maybe it's for something else. I carefully turned the fragile pages of the sketchbook with my toes and stopped for a sketch of a tarantula. It was quite lifelike. Someone had spent a lot of time sketching every tiny hair on each of the 8 legs. Someone who clearly had a serious interest in these giant spiders. I think you're right. Chapter 11. The next day after school, Mom was checking on a beef delivery for the steakhouse, and Dad was dealing with the chicken that gotten loose from the petting zoo when I heard a knock on the apartment door. I put down my e-reader and got up to see who was there. I had been reading a new book called Stargirl. I picked it for 2 reasons. One, it took place in the Arizona desert, and I was doing everything I could to come to terms with my new living situation. I thought reading an interesting story set here might make me view it differently. And 2, it was about a girl who totally doesn't fit in with anybody. She is completely her own unique self and doesn't care what anyone thinks. I wish I could say the same thing. I heard the bark even before I opened the door and knew it was Connor. I asked him how school went as we walked down the stairway together. Okay, he said. A couple of kids barked at me. It's so embarrassing when they do that, because I always bark back. I scowled. They wouldn't get away with that if I was around. I wasn't kidding either. This injustice would not stand. The unfairness would not be tolerated. As soon as I learned how to use nunchucks, Well, anyway, so how's your day? Connor asked, interrupting my little daydream. I didn't see you at the library today. I didn't want to tell him that I had eaten lunch in the bathroom stall. It was okay. I didn't go to the library because my mom doesn't want me to skip lunch anymore. It makes me cranky. I gave him a serious look. Low blood sugar. He smiled. It sucks we don't have any classes together. Maybe you can stop by the library after you eat lunch, even if it's only for a few minutes. Sure. Hey, you want to get an ice cream? Before he could answer, I stomped up the steps of the soda shop. I waited for him to open the door for me. Not that I wasn't capable of opening it with my chin and shoulder, I just figured I'd let him be a gentleman. But he opened it begrudgingly and scowled. I don't think I want any. How could you say no to free ice cream? I asked him as we walked to the counter. Don't you know I'm a VIP around here? I get free ice cream, free coleslaw, free arrests, and all the free gold sprayed painted rocks my heart could ever desire. I told Henry I wanted a double scoop of mint chip in a bowl. While he scooped the ice cream, I asked him, Hey, what did you mean about a rodeo? When was the last time Stagecoach Pass even had a rodeo? The arena looked like it hadn't seen a rodeo in about 100 years. I looked at Henry, but he was just standing there staring at my torso. His mouth hung open. The scooper in his hand dripped ice cream on the floor. What? I asked him. What on earth happened to your arms? He seemed extremely concerned. Connor and I glanced at each other. You know I don't have arms, Henry. Well, you used to, he declared. He stared confusedly at the empty space where my arms should hang. Did you lose those in a horse riding accident? What? Yeah, he said a little more clearly. You were in a horse riding accident, weren't you? That must have been what happened. No, Henry, that's not what happened. Yeah, like a horse trampled my arms off. Just trampled my arms clean off. Henry's face seemed to clear up a little, and he looked at Connor. What would you like, son? Nothing for him, I said. He's on a strict diet of air. As Henry continued scooping my ice cream, Connor whispered to me, That was so weird. I know, I whispered back. Henry placed his scoop of chocolate on the counter. Darn it, I never would get that mint chip. And Connor carried it for me outside. We sat in the rocking chairs on the porch again while I ate my ice cream, holding the spoon with my toes. Connor barked at a couple of visitors passing by. They looked up at him in surprise, and then they saw me, and they were extra surprised. I hate it when people look at me, he muttered. Me too. Connor turned his attention to me. You know, you're really good at that. At what? That, eating the ice cream. Wow, how many people do you think get complimented for how good they can eat ice cream? I guess it's 13 years of practice that makes me such a pro. It's a pretty good skill. Anyone could do it if they had to, I said. Connor shrugged. So what do you think that was all about in there? I have no idea. Henry is a very confused person. Connor and I heard a squeaking sound, and we both turned and looked at the soda shop window. Henry was cleaning it with a spray can of whipped cream. He waved at us through the smear. Connor waved back. What's wrong with him? He asked. Mom says he has dementia. I guess that makes him confused and forgetful. He's super old, too, obviously. Do you think he knows anything about the Kavanaughs? Well, he's worked here since forever, so if anyone knew anything about them, it would probably be him. He just doesn't seem to understand anything. I watched as Henry scowled at the glass with, why won't this darn window cleaner work, sort of an expression. His arms crossed. I smiled at him and his face brightened. He disappeared, apparently not concerned about the creamy windows anymore. Why do you think the Kavanaughs are so secretive? Connor asked. I have no idea. I thought to myself for a moment, maybe they're criminals hiding from the law. Or maybe they're famous, Connor said. Yeah, maybe they're famous members of a boy band, and they don't want anyone to know that they also dabble in Western-themed amusement parks because it would ruin their cool pop star image. Now the storytelling gears in my mind were turning. Or maybe they escaped rodeo clowns, and the rodeo clown mafia is after them. Connor chuckled. Why would they be out to get them? Well, maybe they pulled a prank on the wrong person. Shot someone they shouldn't have in the face with one of those flowers with squirt water. or hit someone on the head with a squeaky foam hammer, or that person did not find it funny, and now that person is out for revenge. I had to admit, the theory was totally believable. Or maybe someone's already gotten their revenge on the Kavanaughs, Connor said. Maybe they're dead. He looked so serious that a little goosebumps broke out on my legs. A loud beeping sound startled me. I looked down Main Street and saw a large truck backing up to the steakhouse. Mom walked outside with a clipboard in her hands. I turned to Connor. Have you ever pulled pranks? I asked him, hoping to lighten the mood. He shrugged. My friends and I toilet papered a teacher's house a couple years ago. We got in a lot of trouble. What about you? Oh, well, no big deal, but I only pulled just the most awesome prank of all time. What'd you do? Connor asked excitedly. Back in fourth grade, we knew we were going to have a substitute teacher one day because our teacher had to go to a funeral. So my best friend Emily took these arms off of one of her mom's mannequins. Wait, why'd her mom have mannequins? She does a lot of sewing and stuff. I think she used them to model her clothes and take pictures or something. But anyway, Emily brought them to school in her backpack. They were really big, so the hands stuck out the top of the backpack. Connor laughed. Like zombie arms? Yeah, it was like Night of the Living Dead. So anyway, when we got to our classroom, our covert operation went into effect. Emily and another friend, Matthew, tried to help me secretly stuff the arms up the armholes of my long-sleeved shirt, but the tops of the arms were too big to fit up the sleeves, so we had a brilliant idea, to stuff them down into the sleeves through the neck hole. The arms were so much longer than my sleeves that they stuck way out at the bottom, and I totally looked like a mutant with arms hanging down all the way to my knees. But we decided we'd come too far and had to go But we decided we'd come too far and we had to go with it anyway. Matthew held both of the mannequin hands in his to hold the arms up. When the teacher called for us all to take our seats, I yelled out, Matthew, let go of my arms! And he pulled on the fake arms. The idea had been that they would basically pull my arms off and then hold them up over his head in triumph, howling like some wild barbarian. Cool, Connor said. Yeah, it would have been. But our dumb fourth grade brains had failed to realize, though, was that because the arms couldn't fit up my sleeves, well, they wouldn't fit down my sleeves either. The arms got stuck halfway out. Matthew yanked on them and yanked on them, but they wouldn't come out of my sleeves. So what happened? Since the arms weren't coming out of the sleeves and our plan was totally falling apart, I started crying out, Oh no, my arms! You're tearing my arms off! I can feel my arms being torn off at the sockets right now as we speak! Oh, the humanity! Oh, my poor arms! Everyone was laughing, but the sub just stared at us. Matthew gave up and went to his seat, and so did I. My sleeves were so stretched out that the arms dragged on the floor next to me as I walked, and I had to maneuver around them to sit down at my desk. Connor covered his mouth. Oh no, did you get in trouble? No, the sub was actually pretty nice. She didn't tattle on me to the principal or anything like that, though she did make me wear those stupid arms until lunchtime. Connor laughed. I bet you looked pretty silly. Yeah. I don't know if I'd call that the most awesome prank of all time. Yeah, I agree. It was kind of a fail. Epic fail, Connor said. I looked down at my bowl of ice cream already melting into a soup in the heat. I didn't feel like eating anymore. After all, I had really wanted that mint chip. You want the rest of this? I asked Connor. He shook his head. Okay, I'm going to stop it right here, and I will continue the rest of Chapter 11 on the next video.